Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us today. It is the 20th of July 2022. The show is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and it is a pleasure to have you on board. Just a couple of minutes past 10 a.m. Nairobi East African time. As usual, I'll take us through the headlines this morning, and then I'll bring in my panelists, and we will start looking at some of the issues that we have on the leading newspapers, especially from here in Kenya. So we start with the Standard newspaper. The main headline, big clash of deputies. The three women and one man who faced Kenyans fired on all cylinders in their pitch for the deputy president job. A straight shooting lawyer, a steely former administrator, an apologetic weed promoter and determined social contractor. The mosaic of their talents was in full display. Beyond their glossy words and lofty promises, the real work is cut out for them, and that story is on page 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 on the Standard newspaper. Gold at last, faith works wonders. That is Faith Kipyegon, and she won yesterday in that Oregon marathon going on in the US. So very congratulations to our very own Faith. And then Kenya's to wait longer for cheap maize flour. Millers want the government to guarantee payment before they can reduce the prices. That story is on page 14. Joey Maribe differ over confession. That is on page 12. Raila Ruto splash millions on Facebook. You'll find that on page 8. And Kenya gets 28 billion loan from IMF. That is on page 30. And exiting governors fight for millions. Kenyans should shoulder a bigger burden as county bosses seek 3.2 billion Kenya shillings yearly in pension. Very well, and then we turn our attention to the Daily Nation clash of visions and principles. That is the main story on page 12 and 13. Leap of faith, Stanley Waithaka and Helen Obiri might have warmed Kenyans' hearts, and the silver harvest in the men's and women's 10,000 meters races in Oregon in the US, but Faith Kipyegon's gold in the 1,500 meter contest was the ultimate golden picking. That story is on page 42. Give World Health Organization the land it needs for our hospital. That is an opinion piece, and very well, that is what we have on the front page. And then we go to the Star newspaper. The main headline, parallel tallying piles pressure on IEBC plan. Presidential frontrunners Raila and Ruto have announced they will have their own centers. I think that is not news. They've done that before, but that story is on page 4 and 5. Ruto in new war with Kenyatta after Unga price slashed by half. That story is on page 6. Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja fight over Nyayo Stadium venue. That is on page 8. And as it is today, it is 19 down. The countdown continues as we continue to near towards our general elections that are expected on 9th of August. Just 19 days away, and just a few of some regional newspapers and others from international waters. New vision from Uganda. Ministries, districts suffer budget cuts. That is what we have. And the Daily Telegraph from the UK. Britain ignites as temperatures break 40 degrees Celsius barrier for first time. And the Citizen from Tanzania, 2.4 trillion Tanzanian shillings to soften Ukraine war blow. Millions of fishermen to be insured in 3.45 trillion plan. Kenya, not Kenya shillings, but Tanzania shillings plan. And then couple charged over 413 elephant tusks, and Prime Minister wants education agents to be monitored. Okay, I think we're having a similar issue over here. And Tanzania gets 2.4 trillion Tanzania shillings from IMF and war chest. And Daily News, let's not play to gallery. That is from Zimbabwe. The ZANU-PF, a news day also from Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF's hijacks IDs registration. They are also preparing for the elections next year, so it's a bit chaotic over there as well. And Daily Monitor from Uganda, how social media bill will affect you. All right, and The Guardian from Nigeria, how low expectations as Buhari, low expectations as Buhari unveils new NNPC. And then The Nation still from Nigeria, ASUU Buhari orders Ngige to hand of a negotiation. And then The Guardian from the UK, a wake-up call, UK hits highest ever temperature. So that is what we have in the local papers and some regional papers, as well as some papers from the UK. So you are now up to date. Thank you so much. I'm joined this morning by Samuel Tawish from Nairobi, I suppose. Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning indeed to you, Miriam Mogutu from head office in Nairobi. Good morning to my fellow correspondents drawn from across the country. And good morning to all of viewers watching this program in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world. My pleasure to join you on this program.
All right, nice to have you. And we're also joined by Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Jevan, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers wherever they are catching this broadcast from. And good morning to the rest of the panelists on the panel. It's a pleasure being on this television. This good morning.
Okay, nice to have you as well. And we're also joined by Gladwell Kiragu. Usually she's in Nairobi sometimes and sometimes in Kiambu, but she will let us know where she's joining us this morning. Gladwell, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Good morning to our viewers. I'm coming live from Kahawa, and that is in Nairobi.
All right. Okay. Is it in Nairobi or is it in Kiambu? I don't know, because parts of Githurai is in Kiambu when they're voting. So I'm not sure, but I suppose it is in Nairobi because it's just right opposite Kenyatta University, and I'm assuming Kenyatta University is in Nairobi. Why it should be Nairobi. Why am I sounding a bit confused now? All right, and so we go to Douglas Kirimi joining us from Meru, or if not, he will tell us where he's joining us from. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to my friends on the panel, and also to our friends across the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where they're watching us from. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, and last but certainly not least, we are joined by Kiptanui Sevania, all the way from, I think, Mola today. Kiptanui, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to my fellow correspondents. I'm joining you live from Eldoret Highway. On my way to Polo, I started to pass through this road so that I connect from this. I will be bringing you the exciting moments. Good morning.
All right, and I'm not sure if we are able to get you very clearly. You're saying you were leaving Eldoret, going to where?
Miriam, I'm on Eldoret Nakuru Highway, going to Molo.
Okay, so before we even start our conversation, yesterday there was a rally that was supposed to be happening in Nakuru. I don't know if you can bring us up to date with that event yesterday, if you were able to attend or what happened.
Miriam, maybe you will give me another 10 minutes so that I can bring you more updates on that.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you. That is Kiptanui Sevania. He's saying he is on the Eldoret. He's in Eldoret. Is it Nakuru to Eldoret? He's on his way somewhere. He's on transit, but he'll let us know once he arrives there and settles. All right, so let's just get into the conversation that I'm sure all of us wants to talk about this morning. And let me start with the headline on the Daily Nation. Clash of visions and principles. Our promise to you, Martha Karua. The Azimio running mate preaches the rule of law and constitutionalism as Rigathi Gachagua, her Kenya Kwanza counterpart, promises a zeal to serve the masses and turn around the economy in a titanic clash of egos and values littered with skeletons from their past and inconsistencies in the mechanics of their respective manifestos. And yesterday we had two debates. The first one between Ruth's party running mate, Justina, and Musheru, from the Agano Party, Ruth. So maybe we start with the first two, because the first debate that happened, and then we can go to that one of Rigathi and Martha Karua. So I think even Justina is trending this morning. I don't know how you think she performed yesterday, Douglas Kirimi, and did she get to the first debate? Who got to speak on issues that perhaps Kenyans were expecting they'll speak on and articulate well. I'll start with you, Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. And for Justina Wamai, the Roots Party Deputy Presidential nominee, and also Ruth Musheru, the Agano Party Deputy Presidential nominee, they had a very good show of their manifestos. But for Ruth, she did not stick to their manifesto. What she did, she amplified Justina Wamai's zeal to also elaborate their plans and also continue setting the agenda to the people of Kenya. I remember when Justina Wamai took to the podium and also took questions and also responded to the very accusation of how she cannot smoke bang or marijuana, but also she's advocating for the same to the people of Kenya from Zubeida Kome. And she said explicitly that the kind of marijuana that they are advocating for is different from what is being smoked, and also elaborating very clear plans. I know they are going to do it. And I support her. I support a newfound way of explaining their manifesto. And she stuck to issues. She stuck to the very common issues that bedevil the people of Kenya, and especially the young people across the country, unemployment. And the way she tackled our questions and our responses were full of energy and also full of articulation. On the other hand, Ruth Musheru stuck to Justina Wamai's neck and also giving her too much leeway or loopholes to continue expounding on their manifesto. I think from my perspective, out of 100, I can give Ruth Musheru a 20 or a 15 because she showed up, she was graceful, but she lacked the articulation of our own manifesto, our own party's manifesto, and maybe taking that opportunity to ask the people of Kenya to vote for them, vote for Agano, vote for presidential nominee Mwaure, and also vote for ourselves to also continue their manifesto. But they didn't have that opportunity to showcase the same, but she took time to poke holes into the manifesto as exposed by Justina Wamai. Justina Wamai took the bull by its horns and made sure that the people of Kenya have an opportunity to see beyond legalization of marijuana, to see beyond the very issues that people have been criticizing the duo of Professor George Roshiri Wajakoya and Justina Wamai. For Justina Wamai, there was also a good opportunity for her to come out clearly, Miriam, and also explain the very benefits that the people of Kenya will be getting when solving the issues that continue bedeviling them. She asked the people if the market price of the hemp marijuana that we continue advocating for, or the kind of the marijuana that we want taken to the market by the people of Kenya, give it to us, and we shall give you the market price for the same, and we solve your problems. On the other hand, I think I have nothing or little to write about Ruth Musheru, Miriam.
All right.
Justina Wamai, it was a good show for you, and I hope to see more of that on the campaign trail in the next 18 days, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And a lot of Kenyans thought she did a brilliant job. Gladwell Kiragu, the first debate, I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. What do you make of it? Were they able to articulate the issues? And did any of them really sell the manifesto of their party to you?
Thank you so much, Miriam. And indeed, I followed the two debates very closely. And I'll start by saying, let's be honest here. I think yesterday, Justina Wamai carried the day with her. So she was so eloquent, and the way she explained her manifesto, I think, let's say she was the one behind the writing of the manifesto because she had so much knowledge about the manifesto. And there's something she said that captured me, when she said, how can you tell young people education is the key when you have poor graduates and rich idiots? That is something she said, and actually it made me think something which is very true. Miriam, we're having so many graduates actually who are jobless, and let me quote her words, but rich idiots who have never been into class, the likes of Sakaja, and I'm sorry to use him as an example, but they're actually very rich and enriching with people's taxes. For example, the debate we had yesterday about the governors. So yesterday, to me, Justina carried the day. As for Ruth Miriam, she was just a spectator. Wacha tuseme alichoma fair. I'm sorry to use the word. To go and listen to Justina, because she was just a spectator who actually, instead of expounding and explaining their manifesto to details, actually she was like kind of supporting Justina. So yesterday, Justina carried the day. As for Ruth, I think it's high time she go back to class and actually understand what their manifesto is all about, Miriam.
Alichoma fair. That's what they're saying out there in the streets. Okay, all right. And just to be fair, Sakaja went to school. He just didn't finish at the University of Nairobi, so he actually attended some classes over there. All right, thank you so much, Gladwell Kiragi, for that. Jervan Karanja, your thoughts on the first debate yesterday?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. Yesterday, as I said before, even the debate started, I said I was full of expectations, and I was pregnantly waiting to see how they will articulate the issues that they have for this country. And for the first debate, it was a kind of a debate of its own. And I think it was one-man show because Justin Wamai carried the day. And that is what we want for this country. We want leaders who can articulate and who can stand for what they believe and explain to the people of Kenya, this is what I believe in, and this is what I will do if you give me a chance. The other candidate, the other deputy running mate, it was fair even if he came or whether he stayed at home or he attended the debate, the difference is the same, because even for me, I didn't even understand what Agano party stand for, leave alone their manifesto. And apart from the party symbols and so on, there's nothing much you can tell about the Agano party. If you meet an ordinary Kenyan and ask them, if yesterday we had an Agano running mate, they don't understand. They can tell you, they might even not remember whether Ruth was in that debate, because she was not privy to what the party stands for. She was not privy why he is a running mate. And I think we have a problem with our presidential running mate. This issue of just picking anyone to be your running mate because you want to impress a certain group of people. And I think the candidate of Agano party, I think she only had picked her running mate because she wanted to have a woman running mate without doing thorough research or understanding what he entails. And to this point, I question the candidature of Waihiga Mwaure, because if that is the kind of running mate that he has, then I'm not quite sure whether they have something concrete to deliver to Kenyans. On the issue of Justin Wamai and marijuana and everything else, she was articulate, and I think there's a reason why he is trending today, because he did an excellent job. And I want to, if Miriam, we can be having this kind of forums, even for senatorial candidates, members of parliament, I think it is an opportunity to give Kenyans a glimpse of what their leaders are, because these debates help us to see through these leaders and understand them critically from what we see them on in political rallies. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Samuel Tawish, your thoughts on Justina and Ruth's debate?
Thank you so much, Miriam, and thank you as well for the statements put forth by my fellow correspondents. And Miriam, I want to say that the two ladies did exemplary well. Credit must, however, be given much to Justina, just like my fellow correspondents did mention. Miriam, given that this is the maiden chance that these two ladies have had, really, let alone even in the presidential debate or in the running mate debate, more like in politics. And when you could clearly listen to them articulating issues, they tried their level best. And I think the contention has been about the manifestos and what kind of manifestos or agenda do they have for the country. Yesterday was the opportunity for them to expressly tell the people of Kenya why their respective ticket is best suited really to take over the leadership of this country come the 9th of August. But of course, just like my fellow correspondents have indeed mentioned, I mean, the other candidate, that is the running mate to Waihiga, she fell short of expectation because again, instead of articulating her manifesto or her party's manifesto, she only but succumbed into trying to explain and expound and give more room to the opponent really to explain their manifesto. But what impressed me so much, Miriam, is that away from all these side shows, the debate we had, all or both of these candidates did agree that the major hindrance to this country's prosperity is corruption. And it's a dragon or a monster that must be dealt with firmly and decisively. And I think that came very clearly and outrightly from both candidates yesterday, the two ladies. And I think even as we cross over to discuss about the other candidates who came in the second discussion, the second debate rather, you will appreciate that this is the biggest challenge that Kenyans are really facing. Because if you're talking about high cost of living, because these ladies were speaking about the same thing, if you're talking about people not getting better health care, if you're talking about having poor infrastructure, if you're talking about the kids not having fees in schools or even infrastructures in our schools not being in good shape, Miriam, it all boils down to corruption because it is what has been eating the fabric and the foundation of this nation. And so when they agree on that very, very important and fundamental aspect, the driving agenda today as we even head into this election, then we can say that in as much as we have divergent of opinion, divergent of views, in as much as we may have differences as politicians and also as Kenyans, there are things that we converge or we have convergence of opinion when it comes to the issue of fighting corruption. And these two ladies did come out to stress on that. But there's this question of the manifestos, Miriam, and I think it's quite surprising myself. I felt it was a sharp contrast that Justina, and as much as she's being given a lot of credit in articulating their manifesto as Roots Party, she came out and said she's never taken smoked bank and she doesn't intend to do it, even if they were to be elected into office come the 9th of August. But anyone then will ask, sanely or insanely, how then are they propagating this agenda? How then are they championing the agenda that marijuana will be the best way forward in terms of uplifting our economic status as a country and also uplifting the livelihoods of those who are going to be farmers of marijuana in the country. So these are things that needed really to come out clearly because, Miriam, it is not possible that you can be preaching wine, the water and taking wine. So I needed to see Justina come out strongly to defend that position and why they believe is the right thing to do. For her to come out and say, she has never taken marijuana and she doesn't even think or imagine she can ever do it, but suggests or proposes that her manifesto or that of her Roots Party really captures this as the biggest pillar of the what is going to drive the economy of this country. So to me, that is what I viewed as a sharp contrast in as far as articulating the manifesto and agenda for this country is concerned. But all said and done, Miriam, it's a big win for women. You can imagine having 4 presidential candidates and having 3 running mates as women, and them coming out and articulating issues the way they did. It is quite impressive. Let's give them a credit.
Okay.
I submit.
But Tavish, just to respond to an issue there that you raised about Justina, and she said she's never smoked marijuana and she has no intention of starting to smoke now or ever even trying in the future. But she was also very clear on that because I think Ruth took her to task to explain and to, criticize the fact that she's selling something she cannot consume. And even that question was posed to her by the journalists who were moderating, that debate. And she said, Roots Party is not advocating for the usual marijuana that, people smoke around. It is for industrial use. It is for medicinal use. So that is what she said. So it's not like we are encouraging now everybody to plant weed because everybody should be allowed to smoke now. That is not what she said. And I think she was taken to task and she was able to explain, I think, how, according to them, they feel this will work out and how perhaps they put up government officials to be monitoring and anybody who wants to plant that industrial marijuana or hemp, they must have a certificate and things like that, and government officials will be walking around and seeing and all that. I think she tried to explain, but as we know Kenya as it is today, I think that will be a daunting task. But she did try to explain that part. All right, so now I want us to move on to, and just before we move on, I think my own suggestions about my own observations from what I saw yesterday. And I think a lot of you have mentioned these things. I thought she was really brilliant, and she really did articulate the issues of Roots Party very well. And I didn't expect anything else. I think marijuana and snake venom and that has been what they've been selling. So she did a good job in really articulating that. And also she seems to have understood the assignment pretty well. She did her research, and she came prepared and supported her thoughts and their manifesto with some statistics and some data. Whether that is true or not, I think that is up to us to go look up some of these numbers and these countries she was mentioning and throwing around. So we need to do that. But she did come out, and she seemed very prepared, and she seemed to have understood the assignment, and she did her research very well. On this other side, Ruth, she was just sweet Ruth. She was just there. And I think just like the rest of us seated in the House and watching this debate, she was up there trying to understand what, Roots Party is doing, and trying to understand the manifesto of Roots Party, as the rest of you has mentioned. I did not hear one thing about Agano. If you ask me today what Agano stands for, what are the pillars of Agano Party, what are some of the things that issues Agano is likely to address should they be elected, I can't tell you, because she did a horrible job of not really bringing out the issues and selling to us the Agano Party. And I think this is an opportunity that she wasted. This is an opportunity that she squandered because they don't campaign a lot compared to the bigwigs or compared to what we've seen Wajakoya done. I've not heard anywhere that Agano has had a big rally or some substantial amount of people showing up in a rally that they have organized. So this was an opportunity, and everybody's eyes and ears were there. Majority of Kenyans were watching this debate yesterday, and this was an opportunity for her to explain to us and tell us more about Agano, which you've not been able to get because, like I said, they don't campaign a lot. They're not like in the media like that a lot. So we're not able to really know. And so she didn't do a good job in explaining that and in selling the agenda for Agano Party. Instead, she seems to be just like the rest of us, trying to understand what Roots Party is doing. So she squandered that opportunity, but it is nice that she showed up. I think that is the much I can say with that. Captain Nui, before we move on to the second debate, would you like to say something about the first debate between Justina Wamai and Ruth Wambui Musheru? Captain Nui?
Miriam, I actually followed the first debate. I followed it, but what I learned is that Miriam, Justina, as my fellow correspondents and panelists have said, she actually articulated on their manifesto. But the other lady, for Agano, she was not just charged. She was even so excited, you could not even realize that she was actually fit for that seat. So there is one thing that impressed me, Miriam, on Justina. When she was asked, who is funding your campaigns? She said, people are calling us from Nakuru and asking us, if do you have fuel, we just go and fuel on my petrol station. Do you have where you are going to sleep? You just come and sleep on my house, sleep on my hotel. Actually, she got an opportunity. Let me go back to 1 minute to bring you up to date on the events of yesterday. Yesterday, Miriam, we had a very huge political rally around Nakuru, and the presidential candidate for Azimio, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, was moving around. And there are so many things, Miriam, we realized here. There are two scenarios. One, there was reaction from the Luya community after their son was called a woman. We saw on the mainstream media. They actually defected from the Kenya Kwanza to the Azimio. Another thing, Miriam, we had some aspirants who are dissatisfied with the consensus which was taking place in Jubilee. Actually, you know, Miriam, that there was no nomination in Jubilee. It was actually consensus, and most of the aspirants protested, and most of them they went their way. But yesterday, when the presidential candidate for Azimio was in this town. They came back and they said, we are supporting you because the same agenda they had the other time when they were fighting for this Miriam, it's the same agenda they still have. And Azimio, it was really a day of harvesting yesterday. Now, on that Miriam, as I was telling you, I'm on my way to Molo, some distance from here. Why? I want to bring you into update that you remember the deputy presidential aspirant for Kenya Kwanza was once upon a time a DO1, not a special DO in Molo. So I want to go and interact with the community over there and see and listen carefully from what they are saying. Why did they die just to go through this route and the shortest route is Joro? It's because, Miriam, I want to document this road. This road along Nakuru, Eldoret, the hotspot of major accidents up there, Salga. So that I tell you, why do you think the accidents have reduced tremendously? There is an infrastructure. The road has been divided into two sides. So I will be bringing you at the course of the day as I am on transit.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on this show.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Kitanui Sevania, for that analysis and that update on some of the events and activities that are happening around and within the Rift Valley. Okay, so it was a clash of contrasting personalities as Mr. Rigathi Gachagua squared up against Ms. Martha Karua at the Catholic University of East African Auditorium last night, coming as a curtain raiser ahead of the big face-off between their principals, Dr. William Ruto and Mr. Raila Odinga's week. Mr. Gachagua and Ms. Karua seized the opportunity to highlight what their respective administrations would do after the August 9th elections, which is touted as the battle for the country's economic liberation. From the word go, it was a slugfest and a battle of wits, with both Mr. Gachagua and Ms. Karua keenly aware their debate performances might have a bearing on the fortunes of the respective principals, Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto and his Azimio La Umoja rival Raila Odinga. From the proceedings, it was evident that both candidates had prepared well. They had studied closely the policy proposals from their respective party manifestos and been primed on the facts and figures. So I will start with you, Douglas Kirimi, your thoughts on the debate between Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua.
Thank you, Miriam. The debate gave us a glimpse of what Rigathi Gachagua would be when he becomes deputy president and what Martha Karua would stand for when she becomes the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. One, the Honorable Martha Karua stood for integrity. She spoke about leaders and how they should be able to uphold integrity. And also, if there are issues, number two, solving issues in the confines of the law. And if those issues escalate, leaders should be able to sit around the constitution, around the rules available, and sort out their issues, because their issues should not stem from personal issues to public issues. If it's a matter of policy difference, or it's something that augurs well with the public, or something that touches on the public, the Honorable Martha Karua said that we should not be able to come out there and expose everything about government, or maybe a policy difference between the president and the deputy. We can be able to sort out issues and then come out clearly to the public with the solutions. Also, the Honorable Martha Karua spoke about how they are going to fight corruption within the laws that are established in this country. And that spoke to my heart, because she was the only candidate yesterday that stood on an anti-corruption platform based on the laws that we have in this country, and also speeding up these corruption cases in this country. For example, she pointed out that Mr. Rigathi Geoffrey Gachagua could not be chest dumping and saying that they have found nothing on me, whereas we all know that the Honorable Martha Karua meant that justice in this country is for the rich. If you have money in this country, Miriam, the Honorable Martha Karua meant, because in politics also we have to see, and also we have to hear what is not being said by the person that is saying the same.
The Honorable Mother Karua said that Rigathi Gachagua is a free man today. He's just dumping that I'm not guilty until proven so. I'm a free citizen. I have not stolen billions of shillings from the county government of Nyeri, Bungoma, and Kwale. These people, these are just allegations. These people just came out here without allegations. And we also saw the Honorable Mother Karua gave us a glimpse of how leaders should be able to conduct themselves, not to enrich themselves using public resources, especially land. And that was also eating out to those people who have grabbed the public spaces in this country, Miriam. There are people who are hell-bent on stealing any public and open ground across the country. And also, the Honorable Mother Karua gave us a glimpse of what kind of a deputy she is going to be when she becomes the deputy of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. She said that she is going to become a deputy that works within the constitution and also make sure that she is submissive to their principal or their captain, that is the president, if they win the election. On the other hand, Mr. Geoffrey Gachagua started off very well and with a very good, articulate opening remarks. But along the way, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua went on and rolled on propaganda in windows and also ate for the president and their family. I don't know what the president did to his former personal assistant, Mr. Rigathi Geoffrey Gachagua, but Mr. Geoffrey Gachagua went on a rant on how the president has allowed state capture to take over this country, how the president has been able to disagree with their deputy and all that. Mr. Gachagua did not dwell on the future that is exposed to the Kenya Kwanza Brigade or the UDA presidential candidate, but he dwelled on the past of the President of the Republic of Kenya. But also on another issue that Rigathi Gachagua scored very well, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua gave out a clear plan on how they are going to solve issues in this country when they get into power. He was very eloquent, saying that they are going to bring out down the cost of living. But along the way, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua was asked that, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, what's the cost of kerosene? Mr. Rigathi Gachagua said that it doesn't go to supermarkets. On the former note, he had decided that the prices of milk is 120 to 130, depending on where you are getting it in the supermarket. How did he know that milk in the supermarkets cost around 120 to 130 shillings, whereas Mr. Rigathi Gachagua says that he doesn't go to supermarkets? Who told him? So this is a man who said that I'm a bottom-up man, and I'm going to also solve issues because I'm one of you. But this is an Asra or a man, the bottom-up man as he called himself, who is out of touch with reality because he has now become a billionaire and he has abandoned the ill-fated Asra narrative, Miriam. He has exposed the very underbelly of the Asra narrative that, Miriam, in this country, until you make money, you can call yourself an Asra. Until you have enough billions that you have stashed, that you have stolen from the public, you can call yourself an Asra. Until you until you gather everything that you have gathered for your family and your cronies so that they can be oppressing us. Remember, Rigathi Gachagua is also the same man who was a 9.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we seem to have had a bit of a technical hitch there with Douglas Kirimi.
900 choir women. That
Go ahead.
Thank you, Miriam. I believe that for Rigathi Gachagua, in the beginning, as I conclude on my point, he was very articulate, but he lost his way along the way. On composure, that I learned from the Honorable Mother Karua, Rigathi Gachagua was out of touch because the Honorable Gachagua was very fast in responding to issues, but also losing his mind and also thought pattern along the way so that he can also go ahead and also insult the President of the Republic of Kenya or drag him in that debate. It's something that I found it to be very odd for Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. But for the Honorable Mother Karua, she was very composed and also she was very articulate on what they are going to do as the Azimio government. And also she took time to ask people to vote for Azimio government because they're going to fight corruption, they're going to stand with the constitution, they're going to also uphold the rule of law. for Rigathi Gachagua, not speaking about corruption, because Rigathi Gachagua is in court for corruption cases, William Ruto through proxies, and also from himself in the past, he has been accused of corruption cases in this country, Miriam, and also preferring of public resources. I believe Mr. Rigathi Gachagua would have taken an opportunity to also stand on the anti-corruption platform and also say how they are going to fight corruption, like the Honorable Mother Karua. The Honorable Mother Karua said that, yeah, I have nothing on my crosset. The issue on BAT, it was a campaign donation, and it was proved in the UK, and that matter and file was closed. But Miriam, for Rigathi Gachagua, if your candidate or yourself has been accused of corruption, you cannot stay away from that. You cannot wash your hands away and run away from the same. And simply tell the people of Kenya, I have nothing to talk about corruption because I'm the face of corruption. William Ruto is also the face of corruption. Because in politics or in public spaces, we have to also see what is not being said. That is what Rigathi Gachagua was telling the people of Kenya. Look here, people, that I have been accused of corruption. I've been accused of stealing public resources from 3 county governments in a period of less than 5 years. But look, guys, I'm not going to talk about it. The Honorable Mother Karua was out there saying that we are going to also make sure that we are going to sort out these issues fair and square, especially on the very corruption and chase away corruption cartels like Mr. Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua. That is what the Honorable Mother Karua was saying in essence, Miriam, because I believe from my perspective, from other perspective of other people, that in politics you have to see what is not being said. That is what Mother Karua was saying. In essence, that is what Rigathi Gachagua was telling us, the people of Kenya, that me, Rigathi Gachagua, Geoffrey, Rigathi, I have no issues to talk about corruption because I'm in court. I will speak after I'm vindicated. But since vindication is in the womb of time, Miriam, let us wait and see what is going to happen in the next 19 days. Thank you.
All right, and we'll get into some of those issues. And perhaps, if at all they were able to look at the array of issues that Kenyans were hoping they would look at, they seem to have just centered on one thing, that is corruption, which I think is important as far as this country is concerned, but I'm sure the other issues that Kenyans would have wanted for them to talk about, but I'll just get that to that in a while. But I'd first like to hear what you make of that debate, Gladwell Kiragu, Gachagua versus Karua.
Miriam, I'll start by saying that, corruption is the key thing in our country at the moment. And I was glad because despite us wanting to hear more about on the two expounding about their manifesto and what they're going to do to the people of Kenya, corruption actually was the key thing. But Miriam, let me start with Rigathi. Rigathi was actually more focused in attacking Kenyatta. And one thing he actually demonstrated as he was talking, he was pouring his anger, the bitterness on the first family. And some of the question he was actually evading when he was asked by Smart that when you get into power, will you go for the first family? And he evaded the question and said that our country is in a state capture. So there are some of the questions which some of the issues he was bringing in, but when he was asked, he was actually evading them to answer. Miriam on Mother Karua, something I think Rigathi thought by asking Mother should put her into a fix. When Rigathi asked Mother that you are a project of the Uhuru, you are an Uhuru project, that is the Jubilee and the Azimio. And I liked how Mother answered. She said, yes, I'm a project of the people. That shows maturity in Mother. That shows that she understands actually why she is there as a deputy president. Again, Miriam, as an incoming deputy president, we hope so. Again, Miriam, when Rigathi asked Mother why you resigned when Kibaki needed you more, and you just walked out. There's the way Mother was answering, and she said that no need of taking public salary if you can't deliver. You just walk out. That's also an answer that actually took me by surprise because that is what we should be seeing with the deputy president who is current, that is Ruto. You can't keep on taking public salary, yet you can't deliver. You're still yapping here outside, actually criticizing the same government that you are in. So Mother is a good example that if something, it's just like a marriage, and I'm glad she actually gave an example of a marriage, Mother Karua. Miriam, for example, if I am married and something is not working out, I have to walk out instead of I keeping myself there. So that's also something that actually mother explained, and actually it was a nice answer. She also said that our country is not breathing. Actually, our country is choking. Economy is actually terrible. But now, Miriam, this is where the irony comes in. Gachagua was asked who funds your campaigns. Said most or some of the Kenyans. Again, in his statement, he was also asked. He also said that Kenyans actually were living poorly, whereby we can't even afford food. We are living miserably. Then you say that at the same time, it is us Kenyans funding your campaigns. Miriam, I think there was an irony. Again, Miriam, some of the questions that Smart asked, I think it was a sort of sarcasm, because you can't ask somebody how much is kerosene sold in supermarket. The first place, kerosene is not sold in supermarket. So what I'm saying is both of them, let me say, let's give credit to its due. Rigathi started well, including his twanging. I think he was so much prepared. Actually, the training he went, it served him well until corruption was brought in. That is where his ancestor of the Nyeri went, where he comes from, Madeira, went back. Yeah, he started well at the twanging, he went well until whereby corruption was brought in. He lost track and he actually brought in the Madari ancient. So Miriam, on the two, I give credit to mother. She was so much focused on what she was about to say. She did not lose track, and she was so much composed with actually the people, with actually having the people's mind and heart in her. So she actually understand, and her actually parting words were, as you're going to election, as you're going to elect, look at the clean record track. And actually Azimio fits in, because mother, we have not seen any corruption, and same is Raila. So that is what she said. And also said that corruption in this country is actually run by individual cartels. And Miriam, there's something that I give credit to mother. When she was talking about Kemsa and the others, she did not leave Uhuru Kenyatta out. She also said, and that's when she said individual cartels. As for Rigathi, when he was hearing about corruption, most where his boss was involved, he was actually saying, we are not speaking on what brought us here. And that is when he kept, when the issue of the manifesto was brought in, he said, now we are speaking on what we're supposed to be speaking, because he actually wanted to evade the issue of corruption, Miriam. So as for yesterday, the second debate, I give it to mother.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying Rigathi Gachagua come in twanging, and then in around that conversation it changed. Is that why Hussein Mohammed is trending this morning? I don't know, but I've seen his trending, and people say he did a good job in his communications class 101. I don't know what that even means, but that is what Kenyans are saying out there. All right, Chevan Karanja, good morning, and what did you make of that debate between Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua?
Yeah, good morning, Miriam. And it was a good debate. And for me, I think both leaders were well prepared, and they were prepared in either way to tell Kenyans what they have to do, and maybe from what they were not saying, maybe for Kenyans who are very keen, that is what maybe they are not prepared to do for Kenyans. Both candidates are capable, Miriam, for taking this country in the next level and helping their leaders maybe achieve what their manifestos are. In the issue of Rigathi Gachagua, let me start with him, because he is the one who opened the debate. He was well articulate. He started very well on a very high note, and I thought, this Rigathi Gachagua is a different one from who we have been used to in political and public rallies. And as time went around, I was surprised that Rigathi Gachagua still have a beef with President Uhuru Kenyatta. To him, the debate was more about what President Uhuru Kenyatta has failed to do, what President Kenyatta has done. It had nothing much to do with what William Ruto and Jubilee administration has delivered as a unit. Because from where I sit, President Uhuru Kenyatta has a cabinet, has a deputy president, and has people who forms the Jubilee government. For Rigathi Gachagua isolating President Uhuru Kenyatta and making him the main topic of the debate, that was not the right way to do things. And that is why yesterday I said this debate is more of a Mount Kenya affairs. The reason why Rigathi Gachagua concentrated much on President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he was not speaking to the rest of Kenya. His debate mostly they targeted the Mount Kenya viewers, and that is why, because they think, and that is the debate, and that is the talk that they have been selling on the ground, that President Uhuru Kenyatta has failed to deliver to the people of Mount Kenya, that President Uhuru Kenyatta abandoned the people from the mountain. That is why Rigathi Gachagua thought by bringing President Kenyatta on board, they could have scored to maybe to the undecided votes that we have in Mount Kenya region. To me, that is what I can say about Rigathi Gachagua measuring more with President Uhuru Kenyatta. On the issue of corruption, Rigathi Gachagua seems to not to understand that corruption is an impediment to development and something that has impaired the overall prosperity of our country. That is why when asked about corruption, he is dragging others. It's like when someone tells you you are corrupt, then you want to paint others as corrupt. That is why he was saying even mother did this, even mother is, instead of saying this is what we do to curb corruption in this country, this is what we do to ensure that we eradicate corruption completely from this country. But instead, he is telling us what Mother Karua, he alleged Mother Karua is also corrupt, so that we can discuss them in an equal field when it comes to corruption. But that is not the case. When Rigathi Gachagua asked to account for the money that is in the bank, he beat around the bush, he maneuvered around the bush, and he didn't give a clarity on how he made those billions that are in question. Therefore, at the end of the day, Miriam, what I can say, Rigathi Gachagua and the UDA team are not keen on fighting corruption. That one we can't expect from them. He also said that President Uhuru Kenyatta abandoned and belittled Deputy President, intimidated Deputy President, so that he can take Gideon Moi as his Deputy President. He discussed more on the issue of the thing they call dynasty, Miriam. That is why he was saying Moi, Odinga, Kenyatta's. To them, they think that is a problem in this country. And I don't think Kenyans are not so clear with the information that they think that is the truth. The problem in this country is not Kenyatta. We can elect anyone, whether they come from the rich families, whether they come from poor families. That will not determine whether you deliver. A manifesto and ideologies, that is what we take this country to the next level, but not where you come from. Your background, Miriam, will not determine whether you'll be a good leader or not. Good leadership is something that is in a person, is traits that you inherit and you build as you grow up. We have people who come from poor background, but they are notorious thieves. We have people who come from rich families, and they are very humble, and they are very good, and they uphold all the social morality to the highest level. Therefore, that to me is not the way to sell the ideologies. On Mother Karua, he was articulate, he was eloquent, and as usual, we knew her before that he would do a good job. And to our expectations, he satisfied our hearts, because he did really mention on what he majored more on what her and the boss, Raila Amolo Odinga, will do to Kenyans. And he evaded the issue of being taken to the murky waters and the level of Rigathi Gachagua of discussing individuals. And Mother Karua mostly concentrated on what the Azimio coalition stand for and what they do to Kenya. And he was very clear what he owns, her value, the wealth that he has, where he got the wealth, and how he has built her empire, if I may say so. But for Rigathi Gachagua, he was not very clear on the issue of the cost of living. Mother Karua was very clear that the Jubilee administration has failed to deliver on that, has failed to fight corruption, has failed to do that. He was not specifying that President Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto, but the Jubilee administration as whole. And I think on the issue of living, the cost of living, if there are person we can bank on to lower the cost of living, is the administration of Mother Karua, because he seems to understand what needs to be done and how it can be done to ensure all Kenyans have access to quality lives. And that, Miriam, we can't achieve that if we don't fight corruption, if we don't fight cartels, we import cheap maize from out of the country and kill our farmers in the country. We can't lower the cost of living if we still have people taking money meant for Kimorel and Arol Dam. We can't lower the cost of living if we have people who are enjoying billions from the KEMSA scandal. We must fight corruption to give Kenya dignified lives. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Samuel Sawish, I know you are watching and you do have some observation to make this morning. What did you make of that debate?
Thank you so much, Miriam, and thank you also for that submission from my fellow correspondents. Indeed, Miriam, to me, Martha Karua did come out as an articulate, as a sober and a sharp, and for that matter, a prospective and ideal Deputy President for the Republic of Kenya if Kenyans were to give her and, of course, Raila Amolo Odinga that nod come the 9th of August this year's election. Miriam, on the contrary, when you listen to Rigathi Gachagua, he came out as a man who is temperamental, a man full of anger, a man who is engulfed in vengeance. Because when you listen to him and give him the opportunity to express himself and express what kind of agenda and manifesto they have for this country, instead of responding outrightly to the questions, he chose instead really to hover around and also concentrated so much on attacking and hurling insults to the first family, and particularly in this case, President Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think people will be forgiven to conclude that perhaps that is the reason why Deputy President William Ruto settled on Rigathi Gachagua as his nominee or a running mate in this year's election, because the kind of hatred and anger he has demonstrated and displayed towards the first family and more so President Uhuru Kenyatta is one which is unmeasured, Miriam. And I think these are kind of leaders. Yesterday's of course, debate gave Kenyans an opportunity, or rather gave Kenyans a clear picture of what kind of leaders we have and maybe what kind of deputy presidents we may have this coming election. And I think it is something that is also going to inform the choice between, of course, or among the coalition of parties or the individual parties that have fronted their presidential candidates and running mates respectively, Miriam. And to me, therefore, Miriam, I mean, Martha Karua for me came out as a person of respect, as a person of principles. In fact, when you listen to her when she was stressing the issue of corruption, unlike Rigathi Gachagua, he was evasive. He was a person who was becoming like an escapist. He didn't quite want to answer questions directly, or as has been asked. Instead, he chose to formulate and answer his own questions, and not those that the panel was asking him yesterday. So to me, I give credit to Martha Karua. She did very, very well. Rigathi Gachagua came out, the first 2 or so minutes came out very well. I don't know if it was something he had recited or something, until the questions began coming in, and more so on the question of corruption. Because again, when you look into Rigathi Gachagua, he's more like a man who's been cut from the same cloth of material from his boss, the one who nominated him, the Deputy President William Ruto, and the presidential candidate in the Kenya Kwanza coalition, Miriam, because Rigathi Gachagua did not want to talk anything corruption, and even if he attempted to do so, he could not clearly tell us what is the position that him as a potential Deputy President Deputy President in the coming election really will do to try and tackle the monster that is corruption, or what is it that the Kenya Kwanza administration has put in place to be able to slay the dragon of corruption in this country, understanding that is the biggest monster that is killing this country. We wanted to see what the two candidates really stand for and what kind of plans they have in fighting corruption. But when you listen to Martha Karua, I mean, she came out elaborately and expounded on the agenda and the plan that the Azimio government will do in trying to slay the dragon of corruption. For example, she did say that why don't we have Parliament, for example, enact laws or legislation to try and make sure that we reduce the time frame within which corruption cases are being dealt with in the country. Just like we dispense with the election matters, normally it's a maximum of 6 months. How come that we have corruption cases that take over 5, 10 years, or sometimes eternity, when you have leaders who have corruption tags are hovering around their heads, even seeking public offices, to the extent of having somebody like Rigathi Gachagua facing such very serious crimes, even contesting as deputy president in this coming election. So, Miriam, these are things that really can open the eyes of Kenyans and tell them which of the coalitions or which of the formations really stand for the people of Kenya, and which of these formations really stand for the better interests of the people of Kenya. On the question of the high cost of living, for example, Miriam, you could clearly see how the two politicians came out to articulate on this matter. And Martha Karua was like, if we are able to, for example, deal with the issue of corruption, then the about 2 billion Kenya shillings that is being lost every day, every single day in this country, can be able to go and help even give stipends to those, struggling families, the 2 million or so families in the country. And that it takes a budget of about 100 and so billion Kenya shillings out of a total of about 600 billion Kenya shillings that can be recovered from the 2 billion that is being stolen daily in this country. So what does it then tell you essentially? That this is a kind of a coalition that is so sure of what it wants to do, and it has the backing of the people of Kenya. And Martha Karua also came out and said the manifesto and the agenda that Azimio La Umoja is riding on as their campaign platform, and the pledge they have for the people of Kenya has been largely informed from a consultative, an elaborate consultative program where they've been going around and led by her principal Raila Amolo Odinga, going around the country and trying to seek the views of the people of Kenya on how this country will be able to deal with the challenges that it's facing currently, and more so on a policy level. And I think that came out very, very clearly. Miriam, we also understand that there's been a tiff between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy President William Ruto for the last about 5 years or so. And this question also came to the fore, and the two leaders were asked how would they be in a position to deal with such kind of differences if they were to maybe say, for example, to happen. And you could clearly listen to the two candidates. Martha Karua said, from time to time, we cannot quite evade, like, for example, we may not necessarily agree on everything, principally or otherwise. But the best thing to do is to sit down together, if it's a matter of policy, or if it's a matter of principle, or if it's a matter that is personal, to sit down as leaders and find an amicable solution so that the same does not come to the public gallery like what we are witnessing between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. But on the other hand, you could see Rigathi Gachagua just being dismissive, just being, escapist, and saying for them they do not have time to agree. Many you cannot understand such kind of a response. Like, humanity, are to error, human are to error, and sometimes we can have quarrels, sometimes we can fight. But the most important thing is what kind of heart do we have towards the kind of differences that we have? Can we sit down and find a solution to this problem for the bigger picture and for the good interest of the majority of the people of Kenya? And that did not quite come out clear from Rigathi Gachagua. On the question of, for example, also the differences between the two leaders, and Rigathi Gachagua was asked, what is it Deputy President Ruto would have done in terms of, for example, even the moral obligation to resign from government, to resign from the government he does not believe in, to resign from a government he does not speak from the same language with his boss. But Rigathi Gachagua did not come out clearly and explain to Kenyans why Deputy President William Ruto has stuck into office, yet he does not believe in this administration, that he has chosen to take the best part of the Jubilee administration, but leave the other side of it. It is not possible. But Martha Karua said, even during the Kibaki regime, we understand that Martha Karua did resign. It's a matter of principle. She was not forced to quit government. She felt that maybe her tenure in office was no longer tenable, and the best thing to do was only but to resign. And she did that principally, she did that honorably, and without hurling insults or even dragging the name of President Kibaki then into the kind of mud we are seeing Deputy President William Ruto trying to paint the current president in this country. We remember also the issue of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and the founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta in this country. They had a difference sometimes, I think, in 1960 something or thereabouts. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga decided to resign as deputy president then. What the kind of hypocrisy that was displayed yesterday by the Kenya Kwanza deputy presidential nominee, Miriam, is something that is unmatched. It's something that just opens the Kenyan people's eyes that this is not a pair that you can quite trust with the resources and the responsibility to lead this country. As I wind up, Miriam, you remember what Martha Karua did say, that theirs is a dignity pair, that of Raila Amolo Odinga and Martha Karua, because they believe in social justice. The people who have fought for democracy, And there are people who stand by the rule of law, and I do not have any moral ground really to question that position in as far as what Martha Karua did mention yesterday. But above all, the two leaders attempted to some extent to carry themselves with utmost decorum, although sometimes you could clearly see that Rigathi Gachagua was losing his cool, maybe when he was when the matters became so weighty on him, unlike Martha Karua, who was composed, who was sober, and allowed the debate to go on as it were. Generally, it was a good debate, Miriam. I submit.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Kiptanui Savania, your thoughts on the debate between Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy, the running mate for Kenya Kwanza.
Miriam, I didn't get an opportunity to watch because I had an electricity problem for the second debate. But I have been following up. I've been following up on social media, been following up.
Get to your destination.
Maybe the earphones.
Just get to your destination and then we can talk when you arrive.
Can I continue?
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I continue?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right, Miriam. Miriam, let me say this. I actually following the 5 a.m. post of Daktari. I want to say this in short. Daniel chapter 3 verses 13 to 23. And that is what I taught today in the morning, very early in the morning. I want you people to read later, and I want to say something about that. Miriam, there are only two choices we have ourselves. Me, my brother Jevan Karanja, my brother Douglas, my brother Darwish, my sister Gladwell, you, our viewers, Daktari, and everybody. There are two scenarios here, Miriam. We have Nebuchadnezzar and the three Hebrews. Now, Miriam, as we are winding up this election, as we are moving towards the end of this election, I want to ask you people, if the choice is between you, either to be the three Hebrews, that is Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, or to choose that side of Nebuchadnezzar. You see the story, that story surrounds, it is between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. Kenya Kwanza represents Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 3 verses 13 to 23. Miriam, my sister Miriam, Nebuchadnezzar has lit the fire 7 times. He is almost blowing the trumpets for people to worship that bronze idol. There are these three sons from Hebrew. You remember the history surrounds the capture of Israelites to the Babylon by the leadership of Nebuchadnezzar on that time. Miriam, those who are in Asimio are these three Hebrews who say, even if our God will not help us, let us perish, but we cannot worship your idol, Nebuchadnezzar. The trumpets were blown, people bow down and worship the idol, but the three guys stood up. What happened next? They were taken to the furnace. But the problem is that Miriam, none of them, even the clothes that they wear, none of them are lichomeka. So it is between you people. Either you go to that side of Nebuchadnezzar, who also confess that let us from today worship the God of these three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
So just to cut that story short, who is the Nebuchadnezzar in this story? I keep knowing.
Nebuchadnezzar is the presidential candidate of Kenya Kwanza and his lieutenants. So it is a choice, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And so just listening to perhaps how these two leaders, and I think Tawish, you brought about the first question they were asked, no, the second. The first one was they were asked to talk about themselves. And the second question was they made reference to the current relationship of President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. and perhaps what kind of deputy presidents there will be, and how they made reference to their bosses. What can you tell? Are they likely to be as deputy president? I'll start with you, Douglas.
Miriam, for me, on the part of Mr. Geoffrey Gachagua, I believe that for him, an end justifies the means. He is not a genuine person. You could see, even through his facial expressions and all that, that was a work of a coach. He was coached to say all that he was saying because he has been embarrassing the Kenya Kwanza Brigade for the longest time. Remember, this is the same man, a man who claims to be an honorable man, respectful man, who took chapati from Anoka, and the same hand that has been handling a microphone that was given to over 100 people in that campaign rally, took the same chapatis and also handed over to the people of Kenya across the boat where he was campaigning together with William Ruto. He could not even ask for another paper bag so that he can be able to hold those chapatis and hand over them and hand them over to the people. This is the same man who says that him and William Ruto will never have any problem, any problem. They are going to work together because they are strong-willed people who know what they are going to do, Miriam. And remember, we are going to have problems in parliament. Friends of Rigathi Gachagua will have problems with the friends of William Ruto in parliament and even across the divide, across the political divide. We are going to have problems with the policy issues when President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, just in case they win, in the assumption that they are going to win, these are people who are going to have problems, Miriam. And if you look at it critically, these problems are going to emanate whether we like it or not. In President Kibaki's, we had issues. In President Moi's, we had issues. In President Kenyatta's, Jomo Kenyatta 1, we had issues in their government. Remember, Miriam, issues will crop up. Issues are going to come up. Even in the basic family unit, the nuclear family, issues are going to crop up. And if these issues crop up, some in the family setup will choose to go the religious way. They choose to involve their pastors and priests and all that. But others will choose to use their parents. Others will choose to go to the clan way. In parliament or in government, some will choose to use committees of parliament. Some will choose to use members who are friends of the people that they are together in power. But Rigathi Gachagua told us explicitly last night, they are strong-willed people who have no problems. They are going to work together and they are going to make sure that they uplift the lives of poor people. That is hypocrisy. I believe Rigathi Gachagua is going to be, for example, in the assumption that William Ruto wins, is going to be a very troublesome kind of deputy president. For the Honorable Mother Karua, she was posed a face of a real Kenyan, the face of reality, and the face of a person that knows how government works, and a person who knows that even at the policy level, they are going to have problems, even from policy levels to implementation, Miriam. They are going to have problems even with the contractors. That for longer of the of Kenya, right? Assumption that they're going to win. This is the kind of deputy president that is going to deal with the corruption decisively, whether it comes from the House of Parliament that is controlled by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, or people from his home counties or home constituencies. He is going to deal with corruption decisively. The Honorable Mother Karua said, even if it is our relatives or children who are going to be involved in corruption, the Honorable Mother Karua tells us she's going to deal with corruption decisively. On the other hand, Mr. Geoffrey Gachagua evades the same issue. He does not want to tell us how is he going to solve issues of conflict of interest that he accused President Kenyatta of having with their family and all that. Mr. Geoffrey Gachagua wants to exonerate himself from future problems. Miriam, remember, nobody who is future-proof
of all problems that can engulf humanity. Remember, there were issues even in the Obama-Biden administration, but they used to solve their issues. Remember, even today in Kamala Harris and the Biden administration in America, they have issues. Sometimes we were told that the president and deputy and vice president Kamala Harris do not see eye to eye, but they solved their issues. We can see they are working together for the people of America, even in the UK and every other democracy, Miriam. For as long as it is not squabbles with the deputy president, who is also going to be his president by then. For me, I found out last night that on one side we have an hypocrite, on the other hand we have a realist, a person that knows that problems will always come up and they can solve those problems using the law. If it's a policy issue, they can change, they can maybe adopt each other's mindset and perspective for the benefit, public welfare, and good of the people of Kenya. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, thank you. Gladwell.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And I'll start by saying there are there's a character trait that actually portrayed between the two. As for the two, I see one being a defender, the other one being a dictator and an oppressor. For instance, I think this is the third time regarding Gachagua is actually giving a bad example, maybe giving example with policemen and underestimating them. Yesterday he said that policemen don't understand money calculation. You know, this is the meaning of policemen, and they think our men in office. This is that time he's talking about policemen. Again, Miriam, there's something that Mother Karua said yesterday, that the Azimio government, despite who you are, whether you are my relative, whether you are my brother, we will fight anyone in corruption despite who you are. I think that one is very important, Miriam, because unlike Uhuru Kenyatta, who said that I had mercy on some of the people, Mother is very actually clear that he's going to fight anybody, and he gave example, whether you're my relative, whether you're my brother, whether you're my sister. So Miriam, about the two, the character traits are very evident. A defender of the people, and that's why Mother said, "I'm a project of the people of Kenya." While regarding Gachagua, yesterday he was full of hypocrisy, and that's why I'm saying whoever trained him well, maybe which is Hussein, and maybe that's why he's actually trending. Hussein coached him well, but he forgot to tell him, focus despite the pressure that you're going to be given on the podium. And that's at a point, the accent that his opening remarks, the way he was flowing, when the issue of corruption was brought in, he lost the track. Because Miriam, as long as you're never clean, despite how you want to hide, at the end of it all, Miriam, the light will actually come to the light always flashes out, Miriam. And that's why I'm saying, in whose hands are we saved? And that's why Mother said, as you go to election, can you look at these people who are clean, who their record is clean? Those are all the only people who can lead Kenya into the better hands. And actually, we know whom, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for that, Javan Karanja. Did you spot any missed opportunity from both deputy presidential candidates yesterday where they would have said something or highlighted something? Did you spot any missed opportunity for any of them?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. And I think for me, the deputy president, they didn't discuss more about, I think they majored more on the issue of corruption and how they will fight maybe corruption and how they will not do it in regard to Gachagua. But on the issue of the economic part of it, how they will service the debts, how the healthcare and all those things, I think the time was limited, and the moderators concentrated more on the issues that were not majorly on their manifestos, rather than on how their personal traits and how they can deliver to the people of Kenya. I think it would be more if they concentrated more on what Kenyans have, what the Kenyans take on their respective administration. In the previous question that you have asked about regarding Gachagua and the deputy and Mother Karua, the kind of deputy president they will be, for me, and from what I've gathered and from what I saw in that particular debate, is that regarding Gachagua will be a yes sir kind of a deputy president who will obey everything that comes from the boss without putting it into question without analyzing or critically thinking on how this thing that the president is doing will affect the larger picture. To me, that is not a good deputy president. A deputy president who just obeys the boss without really putting into consideration the effects of what his boss is doing. I think we might have a deputy president. That level of loyalty, I don't think that is loyalty, but to some extent is psychophancy. We don't want a deputy president who is more of a psychopath. We need a deputy president who is there to represent the people of Kenya, who is there for a mandate to help his candidate deliver the manifesto that they had to Kenya, but not a deputy president who is there to portray psychophancy, who is there to portray loyalty so that he can benefit with some few government kickbacks. That is not the kind of deputy that we are looking for as Kenyans. And for Martha Karua, she was very specific that he understands that in any arrangement, disagreements, understandings, and all kind of push and pull, they are prone to happen. And that is why he is saying, I agree. She agrees that they will have differences with his boss. He knows it will not be a smooth run. It will not be a swifty move, but there will be bumps, there will be commotion, there will be all manner of differences that might occur. Even in marriage, as Kiragu was saying, they occur differences. And for Mother Karua, he says they will disagree on issues, on policies, on what need to be done. And that is the kind of deputy president I need this country need, because we are not saying that these presidential candidates are perfect. They might think of doing something that might have negative effects on Kenyans. And if the deputy president just says, yes, Miriam, we might suffer. But if we have a deputy president who can stand for what is right, and that is something that I loved about Mother Karua. She is saying that she will stand for what he believes for what is right, and for what is there to impact the lives of Kenya. And I think that is the deputy president that this country has been yearning for. We don't want to see a scenario like the one we have seen with the Jubilee administration, where the deputy president and the president are reading from different scripts. But for this one with Uhuru and Ruto, these are not disagreements. These are persons who are not brought together by the interest of Kenyans. I think their individual interest was more bonding them than the interest of Kenya. That is why they did disagree, because they were championing for an interest to better the lives of Kenya, but they just disagreed on their individual ambitions. That to them is their problem, and we don't want to see that kind of scenario happen again in future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel Tawish, even as you respond to the question of judging from even how they made reference, because all I had when Martha Karua was talking and making reference to Raila Odinga was my captain. And on the other side, I think, Javan, you're saying that Rigathi Gachagua seems to be the kind of person who will just be obeying orders from his boss. I think that's just contrary to what most Kenyans perhaps believe this morning. And judging from that debate yesterday, he even acknowledged we are two very strong individuals, highly opinionated. So a person like that doesn't come across as somebody who will just be taking orders lying down. We know he's very vocal, and the reason why maybe he's even an asset to Kenya Kwanza is because of he's a person who's not afraid of being controversial. He can say whatever is on his mind, and all that. So that doesn't come across like a person who will just sit there and have deputy president just tell him what to do. And I think he even struggled to explain his responsibilities as the deputy, I think, president, and he seems to he's there to work for Kenyans. So that doesn't come across as a person who will be taking orders from his boss. But I don't know. That's your opinion, Jevan. Thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. And even as you respond to that, did you spot any missed opportunities from the two?
Well, Miriam, there's a lot of missed opportunity, especially coming from Jeffrey Rigathi Gachagua. And I'm not saying this because maybe I'm in support of the Azimio led by Raila Amolo Odinga and Martha Karua, but when you clearly listen to the responses that Rigathi Gachagua was giving to questions that were being fronted to him, you could clearly see that he was missing the point. To me, my conclusion was that Rigathi Gachagua thought this was the opportunity for him to attack the first family and most of President Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know about the differences. Is it drawn from what the Deputy President William Ruto and President Kenyatta's difference, or is it personal difference between Rigathi Gachagua and the first family, and particularly President Uhuru Kenyatta? I could not quite discern that, but it came out very frankly and openly that Rigathi Gachagua has so much disaffection towards the first family and most of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And every time he was being asked the question about the problem that the people of Kenya are facing, if it's about dealing with corruption, if it's about uprightness when it comes to leadership, if it's about the question of integrity, every other thing, he only but had to drag the name of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the first family in his responses, and not giving quite good responses, or responses that are so you will say are much. I mean, you can quite say that these are responses in respect to the questions that he had been asked. So to me, he fell short in that. And when it comes to the question of also the relationship, you can clearly agree with me, Miriam, and I agree with you 100%. That Deputy President William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, that pair is a pair of individuals who are highly opinionated, people who have a lot of ego, people who are self-centered, people who are more of self-interest than the interest of the people of Kenya. And if you're to have that kind of pair, and in an unlikely event, God forbid, that the two win the coming general election, Miriam, I can assure you that we are likely going to have so many squabbles and more ugly or uglier than what we have seen between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. You need one person who has, a heart of humility, like the one displayed by Martha Karua, a person who says that we may have differences, yes, from time to time, but the most important thing to do is to sit down as leaders and find a solution so that the same is not blown out of proportion, or the same does not come into the public domain. I mean, those are the kind of leaders we want. You do not want a leader who just comes out and blanketly dismisses that there will never be any chance or opportunity or any reason for them to disagree rather at any given point. But on the other side, you can clearly see Martha Karua as a person who is not ruling out the possibility of a disagreement, a possibility of a divergence of opinion from time to time if they want to be elected into office. But again, the most important thing is how are they able to sit down as leaders and find a solution to that problem, so that the people of Kenya are not going to be disenfranchised, they're not going to be disadvantaged because of the pitfalls and the squabbles that the leaders going through or are having. So to me, Rigathi Gachagua did fail to articulate those issues. He should have come out and explained to Kenyans. Look at, for example, Miriam, there's this question about the subsidies on fertilizer. I mean, it is in the public domain. I mean, the government gave out a circular through the Ministry of Agriculture. Honorable Peter Munya did mention that the prices of fertilizer, that is 50 kg bag, say for example the DAP planting fertilizer, is going to retail at 2,900. That is the fertilizer that you'll find at the National Cereals and Produce Board depots around the country. It is true that the government has subsidized fertilizer, but again, because we have a few cartels in these sectors, they have decided to buy all this fertilizer and hoard it and sell again or resell to the consumers at very high or exorbitant prices. So it is not true that the government has not subsidized fertilizer, and you will clearly see Martha Karua coming out and trying to defend, not just defending because President Uhuru Kenyatta is in favor of the Azimio-led coalition, but these are facts. This is something that is true, that the government has subsidized fertilizer for the farmers to make sure that farmers can be able to do farming out there with affordable farm inputs. But when you look into Rigathi Gachagua, he was just but basically playing populist politics, politics that appear to create a state of disaffection towards President Uhuru Kenyatta, so that the people, especially from the Mount Kenya region, can feel that the president hasn't quite done a lot. And Miriam, also very lastly, you could clearly see that Rigathi Gachagua thought this was more of a battle for Mount Kenya kingship and not more of a debate for the potential deputy presidents in this republic. Because every time he rose to speak, him was about attacking President Uhuru Kenyatta, forgetting that he was debating with the opponent. He was debating with the potential, of course, deputy president, the opponent in the name of Martha Karua. So instead of attacking or trying to poke holes onto the agenda, onto the manifesto, onto the issues, or onto the statements that Azimio La Umoja has been, of course, running around with, he decided to concentrate on attacking and hurling insults on President Uhuru Kenyatta. So to me, he squandered the opportunity. He should have come out and articulated the kind of the bottom-up economic model that they have been preaching across the country. How do they intend, for example, to be giving out, say, 100 billion or so to the small-scale traders in the country? How do they intend to deal with the monster that is corruption? How do they intend to ensure that we are going to pay the debt that this country is in as we find ourselves today? How does the Kenya Kwanza administration intend to uphold the rule of law, Miriam? To me, when you listen to Rigathi Gachagua, is a person who feels like once, assuming he gets into power or Kenya Kwanza gets into power, there are people who want to do a complete overhaul of everything, including the Kenyan constitution. Because some time back, I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue or was it a misrepresentation of what exactly he said, that once they win, assuming in this coming election, then all the cases that is going through will be terminated. You can imagine such kind of a statement coming from a person who potentially wants to become the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. It does then imply, if Rigathi Gachagua and Deputy President William Ruto ascend into power, God forbid, then we are going to suspend constitutionalism in this country. We are likely going to go to that direction. And I do not think that Kenyans are ready really to face such kind of uncharted waters. I mean, Kenyans want respect and the upholding of the rule of law. Kenyans want leaders with capacity, leaders with competence and integrity. Kenyans want leaders who are going to address the issue of the skyrocketing cost of living in this country, so that at least we can be able to afford a meal on our table, so that we are able to take our children to school, so that Kenyans can be able to restore their dignity. Those are the issues that matter to the Kenyans, and not the kind of populist agendas and politics that some of the politicians, and more so drawn from the Kenya Kwanza, are trying to propagate in this country as we head into this general election. Miriam, I submit.
All right, thank you so much, Douglas. Any squandered opportunities for the two candidates yesterday? Douglas? Gladwell? Oh, Douglas, go ahead.
Yes, Miriam, thank you. I think for me, the Honorable Martha Karua missed a point where she would have articulated why the frosty relationship between President Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto made the president go seek help somewhere else, because the president had to deliver on his political agenda and also the development agenda and also the governance of the country. We had an issue where the Honorable Martha Karua could not be able to come out clearly and say that, for example, if such issues arise again, for her, she's not going to let the president go seek help somewhere else, because these issues are more political and more about development and governance than it is about the defiance of Deputy President William Ruto, and also the kind of the leader that we saw William Ruto turn to. You're in government, you're picking salary, full packages from government, but you're not helping the president as per the constitution as a principal assistant of the president. Remember, you can either choose to focus on governance of the country, like many other people, vice presidents have done across the world, focus on development of the country as the president focuses on the political front. Because as per the constitution, you are the principal assistant of the president. I believe that for William Ruto and their team last night, the Honorable Martha Karua missed an opportunity to be able to hammer that point clearly and show how the very people that are supposed to, number one, come out clearly and help the president, could not help the president, and how she's going to come in now, whether it is on the political front where she will be assigned an opportunity to help the president as he focuses on governance of the country and also the development of the country. The Honorable Martha Karua missed that opportunity. And also for the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Miriam, I believe that the Honorable
Rigathi Gachagua missed a clear point when when he went on to make the debate between him and the president, who was not even available or on that call as a deputy for Azimio. When Rigathi Gachagua goes out of his way to make the president a subject of the debate and also debating himself against the president and his family, he missed the point. He squandered an opportunity to also make sure that the Honorable Mother Karua is on her toes and also making sure that they sell the agenda of Kenya Kwanza Brigade of UDA part. And also another squandered opportunity for Rigathi Gachagua is a man who is carrying the burden of corruption allegations in this country would move out there chest dumping and asking the people of, telling the people of Kenya how our investigative agencies and the police service lack investigative capacity to investigate him and also to understand accounts and also to understand how economics works and all that. I understand the kind of propaganda and innuendos that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua passed on our administrative forces, the National Police Service. I believe he squandered an opportunity where he could have sold the agenda without even dragging the National Police Service into his propaganda and his case when he was trying to make his own case. I also believe that the issue of corruption, as a man who is carrying corruption allegations on his end, he squandered an opportunity to say how he is going to be vindicated, and after being vindicated, how they are going to fight corruption so that they can make sure that there is no other leader that goes out of his way to carry the burden that he has carried for 1.5 years later, like he was claiming on television last night, that no other Kenyan will be subjected to such humiliation, or if you have stolen public funds, they are going to hang you. Like Justina Wamai said that their manifesto is very explicit. It is very clear that it is crystal clear that if you are caught in a corrupt deal like Rigathi Gachagua was caught in 3 counties as per the court charges, you will be hanged. Rigathi Gachagua squandered that opportunity. Or no, they are going to tackle corruption. Corruption continues being the greatest monster in this country. A monster that continues gobbling public funds, in the private sector, even in our homes. Corruption has taken root and center stage, and which we should be able to have gotten an opportunity from Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, the man for the Kenya Kwanza brigade, that would have given him an opportunity to also come out very clearly on the same. I also believe that the Honorable Mother Karua squandered an opportunity, being a woman, to also come out clearly and also elaborate how our office and also being a woman, how they are going to empower women and also make sure that the issues of women and gender are mainstreamed, Miriam. Remember, we still have an opportunity in this country to also make sure that the gender gap is also filled. In this country, we have an issue where we are not even adhering to the gender law. We continue isolating women in this country. Being a deputy for Raila Odinga is not enough. How would she have used it? She would have turned some of those questions to make sure that she mainstreams women issues such that the women will feel represented in that debate. I believe even the moderators of the debate could not even raise that issue of mainstreaming gender issues and making sure that the voice of women is heard in this country and is protected and is also amplified, such that we do not continue stifling the voices of women, we do not continue looking down on women, and especially where Dr. William Ruto, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, insulted the Honorable Charity Ngilu, the Governor of Kitui. Mother Karua missed that opportunity so that she will not be a Deputy President that goes out of his way like William Ruto, insulting the people of Kenya, especially women and demeaning women. She had an opportunity to amplify the voices of women. She had an opportunity to also make sure that the voices of women are heard in that debate, and also to show us how the Azimio la Umoja is going to amplify and also promote the voices of women and gender issues, making sure that they are mainstreamed in the government to make spaces of women more safer, and making that spaces of women are created for the benefit, for the public good and welfare of our own women. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Gladwell.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And I'll start by saying that everybody here lost an opportunity because, for example, when you look at Rigathi Gachagua, he failed out to point out, as my brother has said, Douglas, when the enmity, for example, what is happening with the current government, that is Uhuru and Ruto, the beef that is there, actually, which they are bringing it to the public to wash the dirty linen in public, whatever it occurs. And the answer Rigathi gave was that they are friends and they have agreed. That is the answer he gave. And the response on the same about mother said that definitely, and that's when she gave an example of a marriage. There's no way, nobody is perfect. So, but there's a way you can solve your issues amicably without bringing them to the public or either washing the dirty linen. So, for regard there, he failed because there's no way you can say that Miriam, despite us being friends, there's no at a point we'll have to disagree to agree. So you can't tell me we are friends and we have agreed. No, they both also failed to point to this issue about corruption because 90% of the questions yesterday asked basically were based on corruption. They both failed to say, for example, if you have a corrupt issue, for example, Mother said that it doesn't matter who you are. And Mother said that with the next government, they'll have a span of, let's say, 6 months whereby the case is investigated. What happens if you're found with a corrupt issue? What will happen to you? Will you be jailed? Or what will you be hanged? What will happen? Nobody pointed on that issue. That is for the both. Again,
Gladwell, sorry to cut you, but I thought Martha said, I think understanding the Constitution, because she is a lawyer, she said, there has to be some laws that might need to be worked on in Parliament, because as it is right now, we are operating with the current laws we're having. That's why you're having even convicted people are still running in these elections. People with cases in our courts are still running in these elections, and not because, that is how it should be, but because that is how our Constitution is. So I think she responded to that by saying, perhaps Parliament, they will work with Parliament, and should he be given the docket of justice and constitution and the constitution and constitution, that docket. Sorry, she said she will work and perhaps create policies and frameworks in which maybe the government can even bring sponsor a bill in Parliament where some of these laws addressing the issues surrounding that could be addressed. But as it is right now, we are operating under the Constitution we have. So as much as nothing can be done about that, it is on the Constitution. So I don't know how much in regards to the legality of that you feel like they didn't really address fully.
Yeah, Miriam, that's true. And what I'm trying to say is, yes, she spoke that, but Miriam, let's be honest here. Despite us being with the Constitution the way it is saying, we even with the current government, as far as they're working with the Constitution, there are so many people. I mean, like the way she said, and she was so specific, and actually she said, let us be specific within the next 6 months, that somebody who has actually a corrupt issue should be investigated and the matter handled. That is the way she should be specific and say, in my government, because Miriam, she's actually not working with the way the President Uhuru Kenyatta is working. She will be working with the new government. That is the rules and the law which they will be following as per their government. So she should be specific and say, in my next government, if you're found with a corrupt issue, this and this will happen. This is what I mean, Miriam. Yeah, that she should be specific the way she was specific with 6 months. She should. Again, Miriam, regardless, I've said, he actually much focused and pouring out his heart on the first family, other than instead of him focusing creating his own questions. When he was asked, for example, will you go against the first question, and he misses the question and says that in the state capture, he actually was creating some of his questions to avoid some of other questions. So that's an opportunity he missed, because in the way he was attacking the first family, he could be bringing in a point and say, in my next government, I'll do this and this for the women. Because Miriam, as for the two, both actually, they should have spoken about the women and the youth. Rigathi Gachagua has a wife. So the wife actually, for example, I being a wife, I need to hear what my husband has in store for my fellow women. I have kids, so those are the youth. I need to hear what these people have in store for the youth, something they didn't. And Miriam, to be honest, we have got so many challenges, and this is to mother. She should have spoken what my government should do for the women, because we have so many challenges facing women out here, which actually the women are given fake promises, but the issues are not addressed. So Miriam, on them missing an opportunity, let me say they failed because there's so many things they should have brought in between there. When some of these questions, for example, the kerosene and the rear tackling question, you could have popped in a question and it becomes a topic because it was an open podium, Miriam.
To be honest, I also don't know the price of kerosene, and that is because maybe the people in town, a lot of them don't use kerosene so much, because right now I think most households, even for the ones who earn less, people are adopting the clean energy so much, the LPG, but right now it has become expensive, so I think a lot of Kenyans are resorting back to using the kerosene. So I'm not sure, except for the prices the government gave the last time, which I would even struggle. But I think for a presidential candidate and someone who calls themselves hustlers, I think it was expected for him to know at least the prices of basic things that the hustlers are supposed to be using in their households. So,
Miriam,
yeah. And I'm
Miriam, if you allow me the latitude, just a minute or so,
yes, complete.
just to make a bit of clarification about, of course, the lost opportunity. Because again, what we must all appreciate, even in this discussion, and more so even to Kenyans who are watching that live debate yesterday, that this was a kind of guided or controlled kind of debate. It was not an opportunity for people to say, for example, it wasn't kind of more of like launching a manifesto where you will say everybody will have an opportunity just to say everything or kind of plan they have for this country. It was more of a guided debate where the moderators were posing questions to the candidates or to the potential deputy presidents. So it was limited to the purview of the questions that, of course, the moderators were trying to were actually asking these particular nominees for the deputy president slots. So basically, to me, I would be fair enough to the candidates when it comes to that. The only thing will be the lost opportunity will be when asked a particular question, this particular candidate probably lost the opportunity by not giving an answer that was not well convincing. But for them to go outside the purview of the kind of moderation and the kind of debate and the set rules and begin outlining the kind of manifestos. Because again, you know, we also had limited time. You could clearly see there was a countdown of minutes, say from 2 minutes, Miriam. So you cannot go outside the purview of what the moderators or the organizers of this event they did quite hard or envisaged in as far as this debate was concerned. And then there was this question about, I think my sister here has mentioned about Martha Karua and the issue of the law. You know, it is not within Martha Karua's like or dislike really to try and amend the Kenyan constitution to suit her personal or Azimio's interest. The Kenyan constitution is supreme, and it's one which was passed and promulgated by Kenyans in 2010. It is the constitution that whichever kind of administration yesterday, today, or tomorrow comes in will have to live by it. And if Kenyans wish that they will want to a change of this constitution, to amend or have a total overhaul altogether, then it will be up to Kenyans to make that decision. As it is today, I think the question was, what are the kind of challenges that we are facing as a country when it comes to the fight against corruption? And Rigathi Gachagua talked about the issue of state capture, and of course, Martha Karua came and talked about the issue of legislation. For instance, how come that we have unlimited time frame within which a corruption case can be dispensed with? Because you have Rigathi Gachagua today, who is facing corruption charges in our courts today. Yet again, his name has not been cleared. We're not saying he's guilty or not, but again, we needed to have a time frame within which these matters are dispensed with so that we know whether Rigathi Gachagua is guilty or not. The accuser and the accused have a fair judgment so that by the end of the day, those who are found guilty can be convicted. Those who are found culpable can be convicted. We have a case in point like that of Sirisia MP, John Waluke. You remember that it's an ongoing matter in court, but yet again is contesting for a parliamentary seat in Sirisia, Bungoma County as we speak today. So I think on this matter, Martha Karua came out very clearly as an astute lawyer, as a senior counsel, that what we need to do, and as parliamentarians, in fact, she challenged Rigathi Gachagua that if you think there are loopholes in our justice system, if you think there is a better way we could do as a country, then Parliament would have gone ahead
and initiated a legislation that would have made it easy and possible for our courts or for the justice system to be able to dispense with these matters amicably, effectively, and within time. And I think when you look into the election petitions, the way they are done, Miriam, and I think that is the way that Martha Karua was trying to expound in as far as what they envision as the Azimio administration when they come into place. How are they able to deal? Those were just but some of the proposals they're capturing as a means or ways of trying to deal with the corruption in this country. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Kiptanui Savania, conclude the conversation for us. Very well, I think we've lost him there. I don't know, Kiptanui, are you there? Okay, very well. And I think a lot of Kenyans are commenting both debates, and they're saying some level of maturity and level-headedness was exhibited yesterday, especially on the second debate where Kenyans had thought will be very, a lot of fireworks will go. But that was not the case. So there was some level of maturity. And for myself, I think I was disappointed that a lot of issues that perhaps Kenyans were looking to be discussed were not. So on this one, I don't know whether we should lay the blame to the moderators who perhaps were not able to bring out these other issues, and the conversation, as we all agree, centered so much on corruption. But even with that, I don't know if they really dealt with the nitty-gritties and addressed the issue of corruption properly. I think there was accusations and counter-accusations, and for the most part, I think Rigathi Gachagua needed President Uhuru Kenyatta on that podium to debate with him, because Martha Karua seems to some most parts of that debate, she seemed to have been just debating by herself, where Rigathi Gachagua was busy debating and responding to somebody who was not even on that podium, and that is President Uhuru Kenyatta. And so he did use the diversionary, tactics and all that, and the issue of state capture and all that. I'm surprised none of you has brought that up because that became a thing yesterday. And so I was just hoping that they would really address a lot of issues and how their different formations were going to address the issues, say, to do with corruption. They did try to go around it, but education, public education, I was hoping for that. Health, I was hoping for that, and the issue of unemployment. So we did not get to that, but I think, as Tawish rightfully pointed there, that would have been the job of the moderators to bring that out. And I don't know if we had enough time. They had about 90 minutes, an hour and a half to prosecute their issues there, but that did not come out. So I was shocked. It was lackluster for me, because the issues that I was hoping they will discuss didn't really come out. And so, but I commend the maturity of that. We saw Rigathi trying to do what we know politicians to do, but Martha Karua was not really jaded. She stayed on the course and did not take the bait. So we saw that even with the few issues that Martha brought, except for the part when she said, she's been in this struggle and social justice for about 30 years now. And at that time, she pointed out Rigathi Gachagua was a DO somewhere in Molo, and when she dropped that, Rigathi Gachagua was not keen on taking that road. So that's the point. He said, we came here to discuss issues, so let's stick to the issues and things like that. So, but the issues that I was hoping they will really talk about, like universal healthcare, like unemployment, like education. Education to me is really key. The issue of food security, the issue of security in itself, and others. I think that did not come out well. So perhaps we shall look forward to see how the principals will tackle it. And I don't know, maybe a quick one, and please make your answers very short. The fact that we had two debates, surely a lot of Kenyans are feeling as if this debate, all of these four, should have been allowed to be on the same podium yesterday. Kiptanui, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes, Miriam.
A lot of Kenyans were wondering why we had to have two debates and we only had four contestants. They should have been allowed to be on the same podium. Yeah.
I've got your question, Miriam, and I saw a lot of people suggesting that this four deputy presidential contestants could have been lined up so that they debate to go together, all of them. So we are. What we are suggesting, Miriam, I saw somewhere that my did not attend because there is a problem somewhere. Let us line up all of them so that when they want to ask themselves questions, we will be in a position to answer. We could have even combined them that is my view.
Mm-hmm.
Miriam, another thing is this, Molo and where actually the Gachagua was special deal around here. And tomorrow's show, I could have sampled many things around here. There is also a very big political around here. So I will be saying about debate, what people are saying about the number of years that this gentleman was around here. Are people happy? What is the view of the people? And you must also realize that, Miriam, in Molo, this is a place where for selection of since 1992, 2007, 2008. So I'm around, and my submission is that if we can get another opportunity, let us have all these people, whether they have 10 or they have 4, so that we can interrogate them well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. Atawish, was it necessary for us to have two debates yesterday?
Absolutely not, Miriam. In my own opinion, I think this was very unfair and still remains unfair if we are going to have even 2 clusters of presidential debates come the next Tuesday. Because, Miriam, again, all the candidates have definitely lost the opportunity, say, for example, to interrogate or even have a rebuttal on the opponents. Because you cannot say that Rigathi Gachagua is contesting against Martha Karua. Where do you place Justina? Where do you place Ruth? And when we get even to Tuesday next week, are you going to have only Deputy President William Ruto facing former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Mwaure, of course, facing Wajakoya? I think that is very, very unfair. And it tells you that the promoters or the organizers of this particular debate are already decided. They have already formed an opinion about which kind of leaders must have a face-off. Because again, yesterday, assuming Martha Karua had an issue to do with the Roots Party agenda or manifesto or what kind of plan they have for this country, they did not get a chance to question this or even to have a rebuttal. Mm-hmm. Look, for example, the kind of debates we have had in the past.
Sorry, just one moment. Sorry, I'm interfering with your thought process here because you brought in something very important and crucial there. The organizers of that event, the Media Council and other partners, it appears as though they've already formed an opinion and perhaps judging from how those debates were, maybe they've decided who are the top runners and who are perhaps the other side. And we know that media, as far as setting the agenda, is very, very important. So do you think this was deliberate?
I would say it was deliberate, Miriam. The reason why I'm saying it's deliberate, because you remember, as I was just saying, in 2013 and 2017, we had a handful of presidential contestants and their running mates, about 8 or so, I remember. The likes of Martha Karua, Peter Kenyatta, Abduba Dida, Paul Muite, Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and others. But all these people were allowed to come and debate in the same podium at the same time. We had about 8 candidates, if I'm not wrong, Miriam. But we had the opportunity to listen into all these people's the submissions, to listen into their debate, to listen into their rebuttals. But this time around, we only have 4 presidential candidates and their respective running mates. Why then can't we have the running mates, 4 of them come together in the same podium at the same time and debate issues about their respective parties or coalition and the respective agendas and manifestos, and the same thing should then apply to the presidential candidate. I think this was a misstep from the organizers of this event. Whatever it intends to achieve, I quite do not understand, because even next week, Miriam, you're likely going to have then Mwaure with Wajakoya on the same platform and Raila Odinga and William Ruto, as though we are having separate presidential contests in this country. Why are we separating these individuals in the first place? Why are we having two clusters in the first place? We should have all these people debate on the same podium at the same time so that they are able to respond to questions from the panel, and equally so have rebuttals on all the presidential candidates. You cannot tell me that the problem that Raila Odinga has in as far as the opponents in this presidential race is concerned is only to do with William Ruto. Perhaps he has an issue to do with what Maure Waihiga is proposing, or Wajakoya is proposing, the same thing to do with the running mess. You cannot say that the only thing or problem Martha Karua has is to do with what Kenya Kwanza or Rigathi Gachagua has or has proposed as their manifesto. She may have something to do with the Agano Party's manifesto or something to do with Roots Party. And therefore, to me, it was very unfair to have such kind of clusters. And I'll really implore on the organizers that come the next week's presidential debate, maybe we can have a rethink and consider to have all these presidential candidates really have a face-off at the same time on the same podium. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And it for us, Gladwell, was it necessary for us to have two debates yesterday?
Miriam, just like my panelist, it was not necessary. And I'll start by saying, first, the organizers failed big time. Again, Miriam, you know, there's been this thing of media being biased. And actually, to those people who were keen yesterday, they actually displayed that they were biased. Miriam, for instance, when I was joining the first debate, I was not even sure at what time it will start. I met it halfway done. So even the timings was poorly done. They should have just combined the four, because actually 4 is a little number compared to the last time, whereby, as my brother has said, there were many and they managed to have one podium. So actually 4 was a good number, because here they could have rebutted the same way. As my brother has said, you know, even with somebody like Ruth, despite her not having much to say, maybe she had questions, maybe to Mother, maybe she had question, maybe to Rigathi, but they didn't have that time, because it was actually, it's like they have created that so and so, it's a battle between this and this, and a battle between a particular and a particular. So when they happen also to do so with the presidential debate, it would actually not bring out the sense of actually what it means to have a debate, Miriam. So the organizers, I hope they don't do so with the presidential debate, because we need the 4 of them seated, Miriam, together. They have a conversation. Let them have a conversation. Let them ask even questions amongst themselves, so that we can know the kind of leaders we are having. Because, Miriam, yesterday, despite them focusing on corruption, yes, corruption is paramount in our country, but we got other issues that needed actually to be discussed. And I hope these are the questions they will bring on to the presidential debate, which is actually on Tuesday. They ask questions which are actually necessary to our country. Stop asking this thing of, are you called so and so? Are you the price of kerosene? Those are unnecessary questions. Ask what our Kenyans need to hear about women, about healthcare, what is important. So, Miriam, yesterday, let me say, the way we say media is biased, yesterday they were. It was not necessary. The timing was poorly done, because as for even most people, they actually managed to watch the second debate. The first one commenced, I don't even know at what time. So this is our plea that coming Tuesday, can they have one podium? And it is better they have 3 continuous hours, whereby our country, whereby those people are going to discuss what is actually eating our country up. We'd rather listen to 3 continuous hours than having a 1.5 hour to a set of 2 and another 2, whereby even the matters of what is affecting our country is not even discussed, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your thoughts this morning, Gladwell Kirago, Kiptanui Savania, Douglas Kirimi, Jevan Karanja, and Samuel Tawish. Some of them left a bit earlier, had a bit of some technical issue. And thank you so much for watching. This has been the extended version of Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu. I'll see you later, 3 p.m. East African time, with more news from across the continent of Africa. Bye-bye for now.